the things that I know that other people might want to talk about. Like, for instance, the fact I'm going to say it, and then you could just tell me.
I
Um, Willem Dafoe, who plays the occultist, he played in Shadow of the Vampire. He played Max Schreck, who was the vampire. The guy who plays Jonathan Harker, not Jonathan Harker, was actually in Renfield as Renfield. The guy who plays Orlok, Count Orlok Dracula, not Dracula, is Pennywise the clown, and then the director is the director of The Witch.
right.
Anyway, that's. But I didn't want. I
You didn't want to take minutes away from me, but that's okay. It's all good stuff. This is what we have to share. So I'm going to give you, I give you 5 things to talk about. So first of all, the movie came out in 2024. It is a Robert Eggers movie. I always want to say Robert Eggers movie. It was filmed in Prague and in a castle in the Czech Republic. It had a budget of about 50 million, which was not his biggest budget. But it was his second biggest budget that he's had. It grossed very quickly over almost $200 million. So it's considered a huge success. It's on Netflix streaming. It is a remake, as Richard Lale said, of the earlier Nosferatu 1922 by Murnau, who's a German director. And I'll get to that in a second. What I want to talk about is Eggers for a second, because we reviewed The Witch, which was his debut film. Not the first thing he'd made, but his debut film that was a huge breakout success. A lower budget, a smaller cast, and not much expectation because it was his first film. And then he made, after that, you had The Lighthouse. If you haven't seen that, that's also a very small cast, also with William Dafoe. And then you had The Northman, which was the one with the biggest budget, and then this one. And he's always wanted to make a Dracula / Nosferatu type film, and it took him some time to get there. And so here it is. This is what we have. He is very interesting because I read an article where he was talking, and he said he loves folklore, mythology. He loves that darkness. He loves the depths of our the difficulties, the fears. He loves all of that. He said in one thing, he loves archetypal stories. He loves the primal, and he knows that people love to die. What did he say? Hold on a second. They love to die naked and insane. That was one of the things he said when he's writing and he's thinking about these movies. He also said something really interesting about himself. He said, I'd rather be with Boris Karloff, in a churchyard with a fog machine than anywhere else. So you can get a sense of what he's saying and what comes out in these films. Think of The Witch, The Lighthouse, if you've seen it, and Northman, and this one. So you have a darkness about them. And this makes complete sense why he'd do this movie. So the cast, we've already said, if this is number 3, a bunch of the people. Bill Skarsgård, he plays Orlok. He was It. What 2 fantastic characters to play, right? He's playing Pennywise, and he's playing he's playing Pennywise, and then he plays here in this one. He's done a bunch of stuff, but these are the 2 you might know. He was in the recent version of The Crow and a bunch of other things. Lily Rose Depp, who's our main female character, she is Mina, Lucy, and whatever this one's name was, and she is Johnny Depp's daughter, if you hadn't figured that one out. Nicholas Hoult played the Harker character. I'm going to use the Dracula names here. Thomas Hutter. He was in Superman. He was Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
He was Renfield, and he was in a movie called Warm Bodies. If you haven't seen that, he was a starring character, and a bunch of other things. William Dafoe, of course. How do you characterize which films to talk about with William Dafoe? 150 films he was in, but he's been in a number of films with Eggers, including The Lighthouse, including The Northman. His breakthrough film was Platoon in 1986. His first film was 1980. He's been around forever. And then Ralph Ineson, if you hadn't recognized him, he was in The Witch. He was the father character. He was also in the current version of Frankenstein. He was the professor. He was in Fantastic Four. He's Galactus. He's the bad guy there. I just saw that recently. He's also the Green Knight in the Green Knight movie we reviewed here several years ago, I believe. But he was in Northman's, Ready Player One, First Night, Harry Potter 7. I'm just Lord of Misrule. He's been at a ton of things as well. So you have a bunch of actors and actresses that have some creds behind them, right? In here. And are very recognizable. So number 4, I saw somebody ask, how many Nosferatu movies? Let's talk about the original Nosferatu. 1922, Richard Lale hit on something that's really important to know. So Nosferatu, the movie, this one right here, the German film, most very, very famous, was released in 1922 after Bram Stoker died. However, the Dracula was not out of the copyright in Europe. So when the movie came out, they were sued. The film was eventually was ordered to be destroyed. But the problem is that in the US, because of the paperwork problems, it was not out of copyright here. So the film existed in small numbers, small prints, a few of them here in the United States. And because the story of Dracula was not copyrighted here in the United States, films were able to be made here without any legal repercussions. So who did it was his widow that did the copyright. She had some issues with it and stopped it in Europe. So we had, of course, the most legendary US version of Dracula made in, I think it was 1932. 32. And this gets to number 5. I think it was 1931, Bela Lugosi's version of Dracula. Of course, if you think Dracula, you're thinking Bela Lugosi. And yes, this is on purpose. Murnau was doing a Dracula film. He changed the names. He changed some of the stuff so he could avoid copyright, which he didn't. 1950s, you have the Hammer, the Christopher Lee movies, the Hammer film ones. 1992, there's a Gary Oldman one. In 79, you have a Nosferatu remake. There has been a whole number of them. Most of them were in the US up until when Dracula went out of the copyright and they went into the public domain, which was around 1962. And then sky's the limit. So that is the story of Dracula and the Dracula movies. And yes, Nosferatu is a Dracula movie in disguise because the original was... because of the copyright issues, he changed everything. However, it is very much a Dracula movie and the retelling of Dracula. And this is an actual, supposed to be a remake of that original movie, according to Eggers. And that is my 5 things to know going forward. Now we can discuss.
Thank you so much. Courtney.
Me. Okay. Well, I have said it before on this podcast. I will probably lie under oath if anybody questions me about it. I am a sucker for a romance movie. And this movie is probably the most romantic movie I've ever seen in my entire life. The darkness, the gothic, whatever, I sat in the movie theater because I saw it in the theater. I sat in that movie theater, and when I tell you, it brought my cold, dead heart back to life in the most macabre and disturbing way. I don't care. I think that it is so... I don't know. I don't know how to accurately explain my feelings towards this movie on a family-friendly podcast. But I had feelings. There was a lot of feelings that I had, right there. A lot of it. And I tried to rewatch it to do this episode, and I got so distracted that I couldn't. But I think that the gothic aesthetic, yes, but it's like, I don't know, it's like the scenery is its own thing. It's its own, living, breathing cast member. We've talked about that before with like the forest being a living, breathing cast member. Like the scenery, the darkness in this movie to me is the same. And then it's those deep, like, like not necessarily like traditional romance, but like the I'd burn the world down for you, or I don't even know how to word this the right way. I wasn't ready, but I don't know. I think it was fantastic. I loved it when I saw it in the movie theater. I also found it interesting that looking at like the people's reactions to it online immediately after it came out, a lot of people felt the same way that I did, and a lot of people felt like it was super boring and they were not into it. And those people are obviously wrong and are being hexed as we speak. But I don't know. Bill Skarsgård, amazing. So
Amazing.
yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I enjoyed it thoroughly many times.
Thank you. Thank you. Who does somebody want to go next? Jason?
I too was just overwhelmed by the sexiness of
Thanks.
Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok. Just I could barely restrain myself in my seat. I was just so hot and bothered by I am coming to get you. No, I didn't find it romantic at all. I do agree with Courtney though about the settings and the scene and how scrumptious this movie is from a visual perspective. I mean, it is one of the most gorgeous movies I have ever seen. I mean, every shot looks like a piece of art. The shadows on everything. That part of the movie, I think, is really, really terrific. And I've not ever seen anything quite like this and how it appeared. I too saw it in the theater too, which is really where you need to go to watch this movie because the TV's just not big enough. Even if you have a big TV, there's just so much on the screen that is worth looking at. We'll get into my criticisms later, so I can be hexed. So I can be hexed.
I just love. I mean, it is the beauty. It was art and the costumes, men, women, all of it. The perfection of it. I just can't even imagine the wardrobe department that they had. Just beyond me. I saw it too the first time, which is rare for me in a regular movie theater last year. So it was nice just rewatching it again. But I want to keep all the costumes.
I do too, with the characters in
With
them
the
still, and then also like I have some scenes I'd like to act out in my house.
There you go. And I've got to go get a corset. I want to go get a corset.
Yes.
Maybe not one that you pull tight when you're going into convulsions.
Keeps the womb in control.
Yeah.
Womb in control. Tighten that corset. Sleep in your corset. But I've never seen such tiny waists.
On the
But
topic of costumes, actually, there's a lot. It's really close to historically accurate, which I did enjoy. But what on that topic I found to be really fascinating are the small details. So Lily Rose is given lilacs, which in the 19th century was a symbol of the first love, but she casts them away because they're going to die in a couple of days, which is foreshadowing. But also, who is her first love? It also is a symbol of sort of dying, and she wears a lot of black, which is in the 19th century mourning attire. So even in embroidered when she's in her lighter colors, there's a lot of like lilacs, which mean she sort of is in mourning. So that I found to be fascinating. Also, what I find fascinating is that the director in an interview said that before filming Nosferatu, or Nosferatu, as it is, someone corrected my pronunciation, he actually watched Dracula Dead and Loving It. Not so that he could mimic it, but because he wanted to avoid all of the stereotypical Dracula tropes. And Dracula Dead and Loving It has every single vampire cliche in it. And so he did not want to make those mistakes.
That's beautiful.
He also went and spent a lot of time in Transylvania. He actually went there and lived there. I don't know how long he was there. So he did that too. He did his research for sure.
I
The-
I spent a couple weeks in Transylvania this past year in the Carpathian Mountains, and it was the like most amazing 2 weeks of my life. And the gypsies, I love getting into the gypsy part, and I got to hang out with real gypsies, proudly claiming that they were gypsies versus the shy away from the name. And I love that part because the weird edge, you don't know what that is about them, but that weird magical edge, I think they captured that in the movie that I saw with modern day witches in Transylvania. I don't know what that is though.
Transylvania felt like a foreign country, and sometimes it doesn't in some of these movies. It feels like just another place in Europe. And there was something very different about the kind of Transylvania, Count Orlok lives here sort of thing versus the rest of Germany. Though I don't know why everyone in Germany has an English accent. I was very confused by that. And there were times watching the film I thought it must be set in London, and then I would get corrected.
That's a Hollywood thing,
I
is that
know.
anytime you have a movie that's not in the United States with Americans, you give them an English accent to indicate foreign. That's like a thing. Thank you, Hollywood.
Mhm.
I also think it was really beautiful. There was a little bit more that I did enjoy as well. I love the fact that the film is really about hunger. Everyone is hungering for something, whether it be money or whether it be for human emotion and touch, or whether it be for lust of the flesh, literally and figuratively. I like that there was so much hunger. And I really liked the idea, the way that the film, even though it was in color, was very much in black and white, in sepia tones at times, and in blues and grays other times. It was brilliantly done. Also, I learned that the snow, he was going to do the same thing that they did in the 1922 version, which is they burn this thing and they swing the sensor around, and the snow is actually ashes, but it sets off a toxic fume. So they instead did potato flakes, which of course makes more sense.
Thank you.
And if you're hungry, you can just have some potato flakes.
Catch them on your tongue. Catch them on your
Yeah.
tongue. I just
I
had
think
to say that.
the vampire movies lately, someone said this in the chat, that the vampire movies lately have been like on fire. And I think the best part of it is like, I haven't been, other than Twilight, which I will not be ashamed of, I have not been a huge fan. Jason, I see you. I've not been a huge fan of vampire.
Babies should not fall in love with werewolves. I'm just going to throw that out there.
You're not the boss of the universe, so keep your inaccurate opinions to yourself. So I can't speak to, like, obviously the ones that I haven't seen, but like Sinners was huge to me because of the symbolism that had nothing to do with vampires, but had to do with, persecution and community and whatever else. And then this one, exactly like Richard Lale said, the hunger, and that hunger being a feeling and a theme throughout the whole thing. And it's palpable when you watch it. And so I'm really enjoying that part of these newer vampire movies, that like, it drags you in and it makes you feel it with the characters because they're so atmospheric and they're shot so well and they're so beautiful, and the character development I think is really done well. And I love that. I love that about this movie. I love that about Sinners. Yeah, so it was more than just, sexy Nosferatu, a Yasferatu time for me.
I think it's important to recognize that some of the things you said, Courtney, about vampires is very realistic, is very universal, because when I talk about witches, I'm always talking about how allegorically witches are often a symbol and a function and a representation of female sexuality, female place in society, all of that. Very rare to have a man. And I hate using binary genders here, but this is just what Hollywood does. Very rare to have male witches. It's not as common. It happens, yes. And I'm not talking about here on our show in modern witchcraft. I'm talking about in Hollywood, again, in mythology and storytelling. Usually women are witches, and usually allegorically, their stories are about their sexuality, womanhood, power, etc. Vampires are the analogous to they're often a conversation representation of male sexuality and male power, and not all of it, but often you see that, and that's why there's this and this raw sexuality, this raw masculine sexuality that comes out through them very often, and you see that in Twilight. Twilight
Dracula
is
Dead and Loving It.
Dracula. well, but the Interview with a Vampire series, and you have female vampires across, but not as frequently, and that's because they symbolize. And I haven't done a study across as they change, and I'm sure, like Courtney noted, that vampire movies are changing now. I'm sure you can see that the same way I saw the changes in witch movies, according to the negotiation of power and going above the limits and pushing these limits and pushing going into these unforbidden places, and that's definitely the case here. And there's a reason why a lot of these vampire movies are sexy, and that's part of it. That's part of the vampire lore. I will stand the whole Twilight series is a teen girl, young adult standard romance series. That's what it is, set with vampires, because vampires are sexy and they fulfill that role in there. But you have Interview with a Vampire. I 100%, and there's that negotiation with that sexuality. So I think it's really cool. I love this movie. I thought it was excellent. I thought everything you guys are saying, dead on, beautiful. I did not like Lighthouse. The Lighthouse. I did not like that movie, so I was very pleased to see that this brings me back to how much I love The Witch. So I was really pleased about that.
I again, in the same fashion as I accidentally watched The Witch That Came from the Sea, I also accidentally watched The Lighthouse, and I was shocked and terrified, and not in the fun way. In the way that, like, I feel like something in my brain broke and would never get put back together again. But at the same
good way,
huh?
Or like in a good way, it was broken, never would put back, or like
no, not in a good way. Like not in the way that, like, oh my god, that movie was so great, my mind is blown. It was like, who made that, and why did my eyes just perceive it, and what will I do with the images that have been now burned into my brain? Yeah, it was a lot, but at the same time, it stuck with me, which, again, just because I didn't love it, it wasn't my cup of tea, doesn't mean that it's not a good film, because I've watched it once out of the corner of my eye. Basically, it was on while I was at work on an overnight shift, and I was glued to it like a train wreck. I couldn't look away from it. And then I still talk about it. Like, anytime anyone brings up like shocking movies that they've seen, I'm like, yeah, well, okay, that sounds great. Have you seen The Lighthouse? Like, and I talk about it all the time, even though did not enjoy it. Also, Edward Cullen is in The Lighthouse. Jason. So
isn't his name Robert? I think his name is Robert.
Pattinson, yeah.
Robert Pattinson. Yeah,
he's also Batman.
Right, I have his
and Mickey Mickey number 9.
Yeah, he was Cedric Diggory. And my favorite story about him of all
he's
time,
Hufflepuff.
He hates Twilight so much, hates it, and he made an appearance, and all the fans were screaming Edward, Edward, and he didn't sign any autographs for them. And the one fan that screamed Cedric, he signed their autograph because he hates Twilight. And that's
reasonable.
I can imagine why.
I can't. Yeah,
it's terrible, but I love to hate it, and that's Jason's.
I will go to bat though for The Lighthouse, because in that time period, you would have a singular man would go out and sit in this lighthouse for weeks on end, and then they realized, no, we have to have a buddy system because people are going crazy with the isolation, because humans are social creatures. Like, not everyone has a coven, but we all have to have humanity, and that was evident in The Lighthouse. It was disturbing, but also the life of a lighthouse keeper would have been incredibly disturbing. Wow. So I go to bat for that one.
I want to give you another Robert Pattinson movie to watch that has nothing to do with any of this, just because we're talking about him. Have you seen Remember Me?
Oh,
Okay. Do not even say a word. Just if you have not seen Remember Me and you like Robert Pattinson, watch it. We say nothing else.
I don't remember.
Yep.
I don't
Then
know.
let's just let that one go. You need to see it though. You're talking about a movie you don't forget. You remember it. Remember Me.
can we or can we not, since we talk about vampires on the show, do an episode about Twilight? Because I would like to go. I would like to enter fisticuffs with Jason over this for an
I think I've got something to do that
Nope,
Wednesday.
you don't. You definitely don't. What you do have is a lifetime of minor inconveniences every time I shake your jar. So
If it is for your birthday, I will do it.
well, then solved it. If I'm allowed to pick that for my birthday, that's what we're doing this year.
I don't mind doing Twilight Zone.
mind
I
either.
think that would be great.
Oh
Twilight
yeah,
Zone would be
some
wonderful.
great Christmas episodes.
Yeah, we could do Twilight Zone.
Mm.
pull up on that. All right. Going back to this film, I did get wrapped up into performances, especially the lead girl. I mean, I just thought it was so well directed, and I don't usually pay attention to that. I don't want to pay attention to that, but the passion, the screeching. I wanted to hate her screeching because she was always screeching, but it was the most authentic screeching I've ever heard throughout an entire film. Whatever, what? Listen to me. You can't. She's dying. He's dying. I did this. Don't do that. It's like, it wanted to drive me crazy, but I couldn't because I felt it in her. And that's rare to go that over the top with that kind of in my experience. I was really impressed.
Speaking of over the top, when I watch this movie, I sometimes feel like Willem Dafoe is in an entirely different movie because his portrayal is sort of so over the top. To me, almost, I know I'm going to get in trouble, almost comical in some places, like the hysteria on his face. It, to me, like how he portrays his Van Helsing doesn't really fit in with the rest of the film. That's me, though. I'm sure Heather disagrees.
I didn't have a problem with
I
it.
didn't have a problem with it. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I didn't have a problem with it. The only
Yeah.
point I could see that happening is the end where he is the moment at the end where he is saying they have to burn everything and he's by himself and they rush out and they say to him it was a really poignant moment where and I can't remember the exact quotes where they say you're going crazy. This is immoral. We cannot we can't do this. We can't burn these bodies. We can't do this. And he says, but the person you're dealing with doesn't know morals. So we have to do this. And they rush out and then he goes, he's doing, he's doing the thing, which his moment where he says that, I'm like, oh my God, that is so poignant right now in our society to make that statement. Like, we're dealing with people that are immoral, so we have to go to these extremes. So that moment was very powerful for me. But I could see what you're saying, Jason, when he does that whole and he goes around. I'm like, okay, that didn't really fit into the rest of the movie, but that's okay. We'll keep going. So I can see that. What you're
I'm
saying.
probably tainted because every time I see Willem Dafoe, I just think he's the Green Goblin again. And I saw a lot of the Green Goblin in this particular performance myself.
Yeah, I've always been, I like vampire movies, generally speaking, they're fine. I did enjoy Twilight for what it was. And I read all of the Interview with Vampire books. I read them when I was in Paris, which made it even cooler. So, and I enjoyed those to an extent. But I particularly love the Dracula stories. I think the Dracula stories and the Dracula movies and the story of Dracula is a romance, exactly like Courtney said. It most certainly is. And I love these stories where of true passion and love, despite the odds, despite what we're talking about across death and life, across, culture, it's just so powerful, that reach. And so I agree. And Dracula has that. And when a retelling actually pulls that out the way Eggers did, it's so good. It can be so powerful. So I felt that, Courtney, and I agree with you. And I love it also. I'm just going to add this real quick, is that I love it when a movie can tell a really good story that we can dive into and enjoy, while at the same time making it a piece of art. And it is. I mean, almost not many directors can, and not every movie has to be a piece of art, but not many directors can actually make frames where you're looking at pieces of art and keep it going in a good story at the same time. So he's a really good storyteller, cinematic storyteller. So kudos.
I
Again.
would like to say also that I did like that the Lily Rose Depp. I can't remember the character's name. I liked the fact that she in this film has much more of a presence as opposed to the 1922. She sort of becomes linked with Nosferatu halfway through. This one, she has had this psychic link forever, for since she was a child, and she is the one who adapts. Normally in films, they'll have the man sort of open the door to the great evil, and this one empowered her because in her desperation for human contact, for touch, she calls to whatever spirit would be. And that goes to a magical aspect too, is be careful of what you ask for, be careful of what door you knock on, because you do allow yourself to open up these doors. I'm reminded of when I was a kid. I was, of course, still very psychic and very spiritually aligned to whatever may be. But in sort of my revolt against the church that I had been raised in, I remember I was about 15 years old, and I too had that loneliness, and I called for whatever would like to come in would come in. And that was when I started noticing strange things in my house. The Hat Man, people have know of the shadow figure, the Hat Man. There would be noises. There would be. We went away one day to church and came back, and there were knives stabbed in the bed upstairs. I mean, there was things happened because I, in my loneliness, opened up a door. And she, in her loneliness, and especially 1830s in Germany. Now, we are all in different places, but in Germany in the 1830s, if your friend went away on a holiday, you may not hear from them for years. So really, it was. I loved the idea of how lonely that she was to call for any kind of connection, any connection.
And that's the same as the witch. What the woman, she was isolated, and it led her to the occult. And so you have this happening again in this movie. It's a theme.
I also think that that's like kind of part of the romance too, is that, just like you said, like the Hat Man as a concept, some people do believe, even though he terrifies people when or the people are scared, he never does anything. And he seems to just look out for people and be a protector. So when someone like the Hat Man or Nosferatu hears that plea from like the depths of your soul, because that's where it comes from, where you're so desperate for that connection and you just want anything, and they show up, that to me is like, that's romantic, I think, because they're answering that call, for whatever the reason is. But that I think was a great start to this movie. I think that set the tone for my interpretation of this movie beautifully, because like someone answering that, in that way, just as scary as he was, it was beautiful, I think.
And I just want to add is that the movie kept trying to blame women for a lot of what was going on, and using even language that would come out of the Malleus Maleficarum, where they talked about how people with lower animal functions were more likely to be persuaded by the evil, which is very much Malleus Maleficarum and other things like this. But then it ended with him turning to her and saying, you have this magical gift. You have the power, the occult power. He says that she could have been a great priestess, at one point. And so
Yeah.
it eventually turns it on her saying, she has to kill herself, but you did.
Just you gotta die. You do it, you gotta die.
But at least it
That's the part,
acknowledges
or not. Okay,
it acknowledges that yes, her love and her sexuality and her desires and everything are real, and that though they are powerful. So it sort of turns it back and gives her power. So I thought that was an interesting twist at the end, something that was very current as well. I do have to say, I do have to add upon a personal note, is that I was actually in Dracula when I was in high school, and I was Mina in the play, and we have a picture, I think, of the scene where I'm getting bit, but I don't know if it's gonna pop up or not. But
Please,
there it
let's
is.
have it. Oh,
oh my God. I'm also feeling feelings about this.
Beautiful.
oh.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that was me starring in high school as Mina in the play Dracula. So I have a personal love for the play.
The passion of young Heather Green
Yeah.
exposed right to the whole coven. Oh.
Take me, Dracula.
Mm.
There it is.
I love it.
That was a fun play to be in. Yes, for sure.
Okay. I know some people had watched some earlier movies. I didn't know if you guys want to do any comparisons of that or just move on with quotes and manky moments.
I kind of want to know who's everyone's favorite vampire.
Any vampire at all in any movie?
In any movie, any vampire in any movie.
Wow.
That's hard. You know what? I'm gonna have to go with the Eggers. I think that he was brilliant. It's in my head. He was perfect. So yeah, I'm going with the Nosferatu from this movie. Ask me next week; it might be different.
Who else?
I would say the same, and also Stack from Sinners and just Carlisle Cullen. So
Who is that? I don't even know what that is.
from Twilight, Jason. From
yeah,
Twilight.
Yeah. I have a very unconventional choice. My favorite vampire might be Abby, who is Chloe Grace Moritz, who was in the movie Let Me In. And she was like a young vampire. And they had human caretakers. It's a Matt Reeves film from 2010. If you've never seen it, you should probably see it. It's really fun.
I thought of someone else.
The ballerina one too.
Oh
yes.
yeah.
That was
I like
Abigail.
that one. I like her. Yeah.
I forget the name of it.
Patty, who's your favorite?
I'm trying to think. This is very hard for this Libra me to pick one over another one. This is very difficult. I'm going through every movie in my head going, I can't say that because then this person will be left out and then that person will be out.
Oh yes, them.
So what was the name of the main character Interview with a Vampire? Not Lestat, the main guy, the other guy.
Oh,
the one Tom
Brad Pitt. No, Brad Pitt.
Not Brad Pitt's character.
Oh, Lestat?
That's Lestat. He played Lestat.
No, Tom Cruise played Lestat. Brad Pitt played the other guy.
Really?
Louis, I think. Wasn't that right?
Louis. Yes. So Louis, that's right. That was his name. So in the book, I love the character Louis in the book. I do not the movie. I'm not talking about the movie, but when I read Interview with a Vampire, Louis, the main character, I really loved his character. So I was a big fan of his.
I have a strange vampire that is my favorite. It's George Hamilton in Love at First Bite. I had the biggest crush on George Hamilton.
It's that tan. It's all about the tan.
Right?
I loved that movie because it was on HBO when I was a kid on a nonstop loop. So I must have seen it 40 times. And there are bats at the end and they're in love. And yeah, it's a great movie. It's so dumb.
Yeah, I don't
in the best way.
I cannot pick because as soon as I want to pick somebody, I'm going to go, oh, but I actually like some of the vampires in, I don't remember their name, Interview with the Vampire, just the series that was out last year. Some of that was really done well. Oh, those pretty gay oh my gosh. So I'm not picking. I'm not voting. I'm not picking on that. I'm not.
Oh, I know. Eric Northman, speaking of Skarsgårds, Eric Northman from True Blood is another one of my favorite. Oh, and True Blood comes up. Nice. Eric Northman is one of my favorites. But I preferred him in the book to his character in the show. In the books, there's a series. Also, the picture flashed up real quick, but What We Do in the Shadows is beyond. I enjoy that way too much. I feel like that's who I would be as a vampire more than any of the other choices. Like this would be my life. Like the guy that's the energy vampire is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's the best. We had one of them at our vampire ball. I'm just partial to vampires. I am a vampire. I have fangs. I'm just partial to vampires. So we could do vampire movies whenever we want.
And there's also a really popular doll called Draculaura if you want to get into vampire dolls. I actually have one in the other room. I did not bring her in and I didn't think of it, but of course Draculaura is quite wonderful as a little doll.
Sure.
It's part of Monster High.
Oh, I may have to look into that. Thank you.
You do.
Okay, so much on this project. Courtney, do we have any quotes?
We do. I have a lot. I'm gonna pare them down a little bit because I could quote almost everything in this movie and think that it's fantastic because I love it. So I'm just gonna go with the ones that I felt like were the most poignant. Ellen says, "Professor, my dreams grow darker. Does evil come from within us or from beyond?" And I think that's a question we should all be asking ourselves all the time. Count Orlok saying "You are my affliction" is to me beautiful.
That's such a romantic comment.
Yeah, like please anyone say that to me, I'll die.
Exactly.
Happily. Yeah. Sorry, I'm paring down. I had one more that I really wanted to share and I can't figure out which one it is. Okay. I am but an able tourist in this occult world. You were born to it. It's a rare gift.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen says his pull to me is so powerful, so terrible, yet my spirit cannot be as evil as his. It's with the professor. And he says we must know evil. We must know evil to be able to destroy it. We must discover it within ourselves, and when we have, we must crucify the evil within ourselves, or there is no salvation. And she says, I need no salvation. My entire life I have done no ill but heed my nature. And he said, then hearken to it. I feel Nosferatu is impervious to any of our iron stakes. I'm convinced only you have the faculty to redeem us. I just think that that's, again, something that we could all think about today. And then my last one is, Ellen says, do you ever feel at times as if you're not a person? What I wish to say is that you're not truly present nor alive, as if you're at the whim of another, like a dog. Someone or something had the power to breathe life into you, to move you. And I feel like that is something that I've struggled with before. And so to have it so poignantly put into words like that is powerful. Like this, I could go on for days. I think literally every single thing in this movie is worth writing down.
Brilliantly written. Yeah. Brilliant.
The writing is wild. And usually I have trouble with my ADHD following along with like how they talk in that like poetic way or whatever. Like, and I lose track of it. And I was like hanging on to every word. So I think the words in this movie, words are important to me. Words in this movie were just as artistic and beautiful as the scenery themselves.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. Jason, do we have a Mankey movie moment?
Yes, we do.
Embrace yourself.
So I want to take you all back to 2010, specifically June 11th, 2010, when I, with a bunch of friends, went to go and see the A-Team movie. I don't remember a whole bunch about the A-Team movie aside from the casting. Liam Neeson, an actor with a particular set of skills, played Hannibal, and Bradley Cooper, a man quite thirsty for an Oscar, and then fresh off of The Hangover, played Face. There were other famous people in this movie, but I really don't care enough to remember and or name them. One thing about the movie I remember is that I had a lot of fun watching it. I think I cheered near the end when they blasted the A-Team theme from the TV show. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. But after watching the A-Team, and even though I had a good time, I had no desire to ever see it again. And 15 years later, I still haven't. Prepare yourself. Nosferatu is a lot like the A-Team. I saw Nosferatu in a movie theater just a few days after it came out. Apart from almost nodding off during the overly long first half of the movie, I mostly liked it. It's beautifully shot. There's cool shadows everywhere. The costumes are terrific. Willem Dafoe is the Green Goblin in 19th century drag. It's great. When it was done, though, I walked out the door and found myself with no desire to ever see it again. But being a part of the Witches Movie Coven takes choice away from the equation. And since I couldn't come up with a fake excuse to skip tonight's Coven meeting, the Bryan Adams concert I'm going to is next week. I rewatched Nosferatu because I care, and I like to be prepared. But even more so than in my first viewing of the film, I found it hard to ignore the siren song of napping, and had to work to keep my eyes open during the movie's first and second acts. The last 30 minutes is pretty thrilling, though. Some people like to rewatch movies over and over. I'm sure Heather has seen The Wizard of Oz over 127 times, and Courtney probably watches The Killing Tree daily from Black Friday until Christmas. But with a lot of movies, I'm comfortable with just watching the thing once and moving on. There's a lot of stuff out there to watch, and unlike everyone else on screen in this coven, I watch a lot of sports. There's a reason I probably haven't seen your favorite movie. There was a football game on. Time is limited, and my lifespan is not infinite. And because of that, I've come up with a rating system for movies I like, and since it's my moment on the show, I'm going to share it with you whether or not you care. I'm just going to do it anyways. Pantheon level movies. These are movies and shows I can watch over and over, and they never get old. Many of these are things from my childhood. A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving is not a good holiday special. In fact, it has a sentient dog cooking for children, which seems like a bad idea, along with a whole lot of adults who don't seem to give a damn what their kids do for Thanksgiving. Quick, call child services. But it reminds me of being 4 years old, and that's a good feeling. Things that make me feel like a kid, even when they were released when I was an adult, are things that reach my Pantheon level. The new Superman movie is Pantheon because it makes me smile and it's Superman. Nosferatu is not Superman. He has a silly mustache. And it wasn't even Son of Svengoolie, which was a show on when I was a kid with a host who did horror movies every Saturday at 2 o'clock on WGN Channel 9 or something. Anyways, all of that makes Nosferatu not a Pantheon movie. Second level, Black Phillip level. After a prolonged period of time, my mind begins to forget certain details about a whole lot of movies I've enjoyed. So then, after a few years, I feel the urge to watch them again. I really liked The Witch. I don't need to see it every year, but when I start to forget exactly what Black Phillip's voice sounded like in that movie, I'll watch it again. If I wait long enough, sometimes it's like these movies are new. I don't need to remember what Bill Skarsgård sounds like as Nosferatu because it really wasn't that great for me personally. I also don't think the movie was particularly quote-worthy, which means I'm getting hexed right now. And besides, not rewatching it gives me more time to watch things that are really important, like Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas again. My last category, I didn't mind it, named by Heather Green. Not every movie will rise to the level of Pantheon or Black Phillip for me, while they might for you. Perhaps Nosferatu will become a part of your annual holiday viewing because you lack a soul and the compassion to truly love It's a Wonderful Life. And that's okay, Richard Lale. I won't tell you how to live your life. We all have to do what works best for us. There are people I know Nosferatu was probably made for. And then there is me who would prefer to watch Anchorman for the 67th time. I would recommend Nosferatu to some of my friends, and that includes ones that I like. But twice now is enough for at least the next 10 years. And only in a manky moment will you ever see Nosferatu compared to the A-Team. This makes me either a genius or a madman.
Or both.
Or both. Could be both.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, Courtney. Oh, Courtney. Oh,
It got a B minus cinema score. I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
okay. All right. We left the group speechless. Now it is time to judge, to rate, to vote. Wands up, wands down. I'm going to use a dagger.
I'm going to use the hook that I'm going to stab in Jason's voodoo doll's eye.
I don't drink wine.
So we got up, 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 and almost up. We are almost erect there, Jason. We are
Almost. Just a little flaccid. Just a little bit.
flaccid.
There is nothing flaccid about this movie. I'll say that.
So everybody out there, Colin, Melissa, Marty, Taya, Robert, one's up, one's down, one's in the middle. Aside, we got a side one for Christy. One's up because I don't want Courtney to beat me with a stick. There's no logical reason than that. One's up for anything, Robert Eggers. One's up for this totally not Dracula story. That forever will be with you, Richard Lale. One down is a cheap Dracula ripoff. One's up. So Robert did not like it. One's up. Mary Jane did. Okay, we are leaning towards one's up, but there are some opinions in here. Everybody's opinion's valid.
Everyone, Courtney. Everyone.
Except Jason. Except Jason.
One's up. So, all right, Nosferatu. What are we doing? Well, some of us doing. I'm going to be on a plane next Wednesday. So I think we'll have a few of us. What are we going to do for next week for the ones who are here?
We are sticking with the theme, and next week we are staying with monsters and doing Frankenstein, the recent one, 2025. It's on Netflix. Be
Not the
prepared.
wilder version, Frankenstein.
Oh,
Young Frankenstein.
Such a
Frankenstein. No, we're doing Frankenstein 2025.
Okay, so you guys go out to the movies, watch it, check it out. I'm probably good. I'm missing this one because this is one I've been warned about. I should not see it.
I warned you last night. Yeah.
I'm not going to see it. So I will be on a plane. Yes. So you guys watch Frankenstein. As Richard Lale said earlier, follow us, like us individually on our social media, like Witches Movie Coven. Come back next Wednesday. Come back every Wednesday. Let us know what you want us to watch. Anything witchy that we've missed so far. We are always looking for new movies. We got years to go to do this now that we're in our third year. And what are we going to be doing in 30, 35 years from now? Going
Nosferatu 2.
Nosferatu 2.
It lives.
Before we go, we have a couple minutes. Anybody have anything good coming up they want to talk about real quick? Heather.
Where I'm going to be at Conjuration this weekend. It's a pop culture festival for witchy stuff. So I'm going to be doing some workshops and reading tarot and just hanging out all day Saturday. It starts Friday. It's in Atlanta. It's 3 days.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? Courtney.
I would love if the Coven could send good vibes my way because I am having another procedure on Friday. Which is why I might not be here next week. We're going to see how recovery goes. It's the same procedure that I had the last time. This time, I think I'm a little bit more prepared. So it was the infection that got me before. Hopefully it won't get me again. But if everyone could think of me on Friday and send me your good vibes, I will be in a panic and dealing with that. So
okay,
that's
everybody send love and magic and healing. We're witches, you guys. She's got this. She's got this. Richard Lale.
I am here in New Orleans. I do teas and tarots and all kinds of things. Seances are fun. I'm really easy to find. I am the gentleman psychic everywhere. Gentleman psychics
every
sold.
time. Gets me every time.
I mean, a lot of people can sleep with me. You can find that, scan that QR and sleep with me.
Thank you very much. Jason.
I will be at the Culture Fair one-day event in Las Vegas, Nevada next Friday, doing a workshop and doing a ritual. So if you're in Vegas, come see me.
That's cool. This weekend, I'm going to be in Brainerd, Minnesota, doing a mediumship gallery. I think it is sold out. But then join me in Texas next week. I'm going to be 5 days doing workshops, seances, private sessions at Miracles of Joy in Bedford and Miracles Within in the Dallas area in Louisville. again, follow all of our, you could find it on our own social medias and everything. And then I'm getting ready for my haunted doll tea party at the Lizzie Borden house in the first part of December, which I'm really excited about. So there's something for everybody. So join us, and then make sure you come back next Wednesday for Witches Movie Coven. It is after 7 or whatever time it is where you are, 10. We have one more thing to do. 1, 2, 3.